I advise Beyoncé to divorce Jay-Z as soon as possible because I'm ready to shoot a documentary about Jay-Z, and I guarantee it will outgross Diddy's documentary. If Beyoncé sends me a legal letter on behalf of Jay-Z, I remind her to stay quiet. This is a dispute between men, and she has no right to interfere. I have to let everyone see the true face of Jay-Z. Jay-Z and Diddy have been longtime friends, and their business dealings never stopped. He frequently attends Diddy's parties, so why do people think he's innocent? Jay-Z and Diddy got involved in the same case in 2024, where a victim claimed she was assaulted by both Jay-Z and Diddy. I remember Jay-Z saying these were all rumors and that he was defending Diddy. But ironically, Diddy got arrested in 2025, and there's enough evidence to count his crimes on one hand. I've known him for 20 years, and I know how many bad things they've done behind the scenes. After Jay-Z founded his company, he repeatedly got into copyright disputes. In 1999, he was convicted of third-degree assault and served time in prison. He was unfaithful to Beyoncé, and he was caught by Beyoncé's sister. I think everyone has seen the footage of him getting beaten up in the elevator. I've already gathered the evidence, and I'm going to give Jay-Z a surprise.
The new lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh, shoot, like,
Right. To us, Black excellence. That
had to be there.
We getting tighter, you know what I'm saying? And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch.
Oh,
Like,
I hate you, man.
unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm going to be with you is this year. Yeah. Come on, bro.
That's the problem. You didn't realize on Monday that every word that you said was going to be invalidated.
Hip-hop didn't protect the truth with denial. It protected it with delay. Stories got stalled, questions got softened, and silence did the work. Answers never had to do. 50 Cent's new documentary doesn't show up to accuse or absolve. It shows up to study the system, how influence reshapes accountability, how proximity becomes protection, and why some stories take decades to reach daylight. This isn't a film about scandal. Oh, it's a film about power and the machinery that hides it.
Amongst all of us, and laughing and joking with each other. Then over the years, I see them giving garden parties. You understand what I'm saying? You could tell that the people in power had gave that reign to Diddy, and Jay was next in line. So to separate him, when in fact, they may be two of the same, but because Jay-Z is low-key, that low-key sneaky shit, and Diddy is, and was rambunctious, just out with it. It don't mean that they not two of the same. One just a little quieter with his shit.
What happened at the basketball game? When they ran into, you guys ran into Jay-Z?
They were just talking. They was talking amongst each other about their little white girls. They little skinny white girls.
And I mean, did Diddy always say negative things about Jay around you?
The time he was trying to get Ja Rule to go at Jay, yeah. He was. They worked it out.
Was there a reason behind it?
I couldn't tell you the reason behind it. It's probably because Big had died. I don't know what it was, man. I don't know why he wanted Ja Rule to go at Jay. I guess if he kept them beefing or kept them into some bullshit, he could rise up in between both of them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It definitely was some snake shit.
Well, Meek Mill is also someone who has been tied into this whole Diddy.
Rihanna was trafficked to Def Jam.
She was an innocent baby when she came over here. And look
She
at
was
her now.
14 going on 15 years old. Flown over without parental supervision in a private plane by a man who was supposed to be a producer who auditioned her at 3 a.m. in the fucking morning in a hotel room. auditioning at 3 a.m. in the morning, a 14-year-old girl. She was flown to another country. She was taken to Def Jam headquarters. She was left in a conference room alone with Sean Carter for nearly 6 hours alone with no parental supervision. Her father collected a $500,000 check. She had the fastest inked deal in Def Jam history.
For years, the biggest names weren't protected by innocence. They were protected by silence. The documentary reframes long-running controversies not as isolated moments, but as repeating patterns, where access, loyalty, and restraint have real value. The spotlight moves off personalities and onto the architecture behind them. Who benefits when narratives stall? Who pays when questions never die? And when the same patterns repeat across decades, at what point does coincidence stop being random and start looking designed?
What do you think of that?
And those men sit up there and seen her being abused by him, and they did what everybody else did for years in the industry. They kept it quiet and kept doing business with her.
Do you think a lot of people know what Puff was doing and kind of just turned a blind eye?
Yeah. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. He had got so... You're listening. Everybody in the world knew he took a cowbell and tried to beat the coach up with it. Nobody did nothing. They heard stories for years about him slapping, beating Kim and all other women that he was with. I'm surprised more haven't came out with it. They don't probably want the attention or whatever. But there's more women out there can say that he probably put their hands on them.
With Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Iovine being exposed as somebody who might have potentially seen this type of behavior, do you think that they will try to call them on the stand, or, do you think they should be held accountable for some of that too?
Well, I think that when you have situations like that and you're in a room with somebody, you can't make them see anything when they come to the stand, because all they can say is that I didn't see it. I was there. I wasn't looking in that direction. I don't know what really happened. All I know is Cassie was holding her stomach, bent over, throwing up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they'll say anything. Their lawyers will tell them what to say. They have people to teach them what to say in circumstances and situations like that. So Dawn, yes, she saw it. She saw that they were there, and they should have seen it too. She would have to describe when that happened. What did Usher do? What did Neo do? What did they say?
Influence never moves alone. It moves through proximity. The film traces how careers accelerate near centers of power, and slow the moment distance is enforced, suggesting closeness itself becomes leverage. Names like Diddy and Jay-Z are presented not as verdicts, but as context, a map of who stayed close, who drifted away, and who stayed silent. In an ecosystem where access opens doors and exclusion shuts them, when proximity becomes currency, who controls the exchange?
Well, when I first heard the allegation, I said to myself, that's 2000. That's when I was there. And so I got to read what was said and how it went down and everything like that. And then first of all, I start seeing some inconsistency. But I don't want to, criticize the victim or the person that said that they was a victim. But some of the statements and some of the things that I heard was incorrect. As far as I know what we did at that time. First of all, we did not use limousines. We used SUVs in 2000. You know what I'm saying? So when she said that it was a limousine that picked her up or she went with a limousine driver, I was kind of skeptical and wanted to hear more about her story. So now she said that the limousine driver, got her into a party, but somehow she had to went to a gas station and if you know that area, there's no gas stations unless you walk all the way up to 96th Street. That's like 40-something blocks. So I was like, all you had to walk to the west side, which is another 14, 15 long blocks. And then you would have to know where you're going to find that gas station because it's close to the West Side Highway. Unless you went all the way downtown, and then who gonna pick up from that far away from the the venue where she went to. So, and then she said something about that, or well, the allegation said something about that she went with the limo driver. So did the limo driver drop Puff them off or Jay them off, then came back and got her, then take her to the party? It was just a lot of inconsistencies. I was like, yo, first of all, we didn't even use limousine. You understand? Bad Boy used SUVs. So I found those being real inconsistent on what the story was she was talking about. And then for limousine driver, who would know us, because our drivers didn't drive limousines, how you gonna tell somebody to get in the party? He had to go through security for that. And that just wouldn't have happened.
Public silence is often sold as restraint, but the film explores how silence can also be strategy. Declining comment, skipping interviews, letting legal process speak first. It shapes public memory without adding a single new fact. In a media world fueled by speed, silence slows inquiry and redirects attention. When the loudest response is no response at all, what exactly is that silence designed to protect?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. Why is everyone having such a hard time? He ain't doing different. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
Yeah, shout out D. Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D. Haven.
We need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone with him.
You did.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him. And so he could level up Beyoncé, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Think of the power. Think about Claudia Jordan right now. Claudia Jordan don't ever mention my mother name. She mentioned it yesterday. Talking about why people are afraid to come forward. You mean like you? You was Diddy girl. Corey was Jay-Z girl. Why don't you claim your friend? Claudia
Legacy isn't dismantled by one claim. It's tested by the institutional response. The documentary places cultural icons inside their full arc: creative impact, economic power, public leadership, then asks what happens when that legacy meets sustained scrutiny. Legacy can invite transparency or demand insulation. When reputations built over decades collide with unresolved questions, does legacy become accountability's ally or its shield?
A brother that has so much promise become an icon as far as in the music business and stuff that he did to turn around and just tear his whole life down. But it's all because of his mentors and the people that trained him and taught him the music business. You know, it's all about the people who trained and taught him the music business, because Puff wasn't, he wasn't born a monster. You know what I'm saying? He was made into a monster, brother. Do you understand what I'm saying? He was made into a monster from the stuff that happened to him, the things that he had to do. You understand? The things that he had to do to become who he is. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like this, brother. You never like something so much that you can't do without, and you never be willing to do anything to get where you want to be at. You got to have principles. You got to have morals. You got to keep with that stuff. And in that music business, a lot of that stuff get thrown out the window. You understand? And that's what happened to him. He started doing the things to other people that was done to him. To keep it frank, he was doing the things to other people that was done to him. And it is what it is. You got to know better. And if you know better, you will do better. When he was in New York City, he was like that gecko from the Geico commercial. Then he turned and started going, when he lived in Cali and Miami, he turned into Godzilla. I would see him talk about how he using drugs. He was never like that. Smoking cigarettes, smoking weed and everything like that. He turned into something that you could consider a monster, bro. Then he started doing things to people, you understand, that he learned. That's a learned behavior, bro. Now, I'm not saying that he may have been doing a couple of things here and there with women, stuff like that in New York, but the things that there's talking about that he was doing, bringing in prostitutes to have sex with his girl and all that stuff like that, that was some crazy stuff to me, man. So I'm just looking at this whole thing, man, and you had asked me, and we don't have these conversations like...
Attention determines consequence. By comparing headlines, omissions, and framing across outlets, the documentary shows how coverage can amplify some narratives while muting others. Editorial decisions, what leads, what delays, and what never airs, carry long-term weight. Media doesn't just report reality, it organizes it. When attention is uneven, who sets the agenda? And who pays the price for what remains unsaid?
His name and everything, his lawyers wrote that stuff, and now he presenting to the people like he wrote it. Everybody know that if he's stealing rhymes and he's stealing bars, I know that's your man, Mighty. But you know there's a lot of bars and a lot of rhymes he done stole from people. If he's stealing rhymes and he's stealing bars, he ain't writing no letter like that for nobody. And to nobody.
I mean, Jay was paying homage, man, showing respect.
Oh, okay. He was showing respect?
Yeah.
Well, I guess Tupac and Biggie showed the same respect too, right? Huh? Oh, you ain't got nothing to say about that. All right, okay. I guess Big L was showing respect too, right? I guess Cam them show respect too, huh? It's a lot of rappers, man. I guess Mace was showing respect too. It's a lot of rappers, man. They don't steal. Yo, Mighty, I'm finna blow you out the water. This nigga stole the whole song. I got 99 problems, and now he finding out a bitch is one. Come on now. He stole a whole song from Ice-T. Didn't give him the props on it. I know you're going to cut this part out, but it's the truth. Let's get back to the letter. Now, he called the lawyer ambulance chasing and all that stuff like that. I think Tony Busby probably got a lawsuit against him now. You understand? Defamation of character, the whole 9 yards. So Jay gonna have to say, I didn't write that, my lawyer wrote that. But he came out like saying that he wrote it, like he was doing that. So he got him a defamation claim, defamation. I think Tony Busby got a defamation lawsuit against him right now. Against his character, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards. So as far as that letter is concerned, man, Tony Busby sent him a demand letter, award letter. All lawyers do that. He didn't go out the scope of what the information he had from representing his client. Now Jay-Z is sitting back, you know what I'm saying, going at him personally. Now, all this back and forth and this media stuff like that, 9 times out of 10, you usually don't find that lawyers going at each other in the media. They be doing that shit in the courtroom, but it makes for entertainment. And I guess we're being entertained by this bullcrap.
This is where the documentary enters the most dangerous zone, the rumor economy. Stories circulate, names get attached, and narratives spread faster than proof, creating a fog where allegation and fact get mixed on purpose. The point isn't to treat talk as truth. Yet the point is to expose how these systems weaponize noise, launch a story, muddy the timeline, distract the public, and keep everything unproven forever. When gossip and record get blended together, who actually benefits from the confusion?
I want to say this to protect myself, that there's stories of Jay talking to underage girls. It was a girl from my block that was 16, 17 years old that Jay was talking to. If she was 17. So there's plenty of stories out there that they might flood the market of Jay talking to underage girls. I heard this kid that is claiming to be his son. His mother was 15 when she conceived him and had him at 16. And Jay refused to do a blood test or anything like that. And all of a sudden, when this has gotten real big and Tony Busby had taken the kid case, the kid just got arrested for having a gun in his car, I think, like that. Did you hear something about that? That the kid got arrested for having a gun in his car, and when they go and watch the tape, somebody was planting a gun in the kid's car. Now the kid who's never been in trouble to that degree, and now he's facing a case for a gun case for having a loaded firearm in his car. So, answer your question. There's plenty of stories. Ain't Beyoncé one of those stories? Isn't Foxy Brown one of those stories? Isn't that kid mother one of his stories? There's a lot of stories, bro. So that's what I say about it.
The documentary resists resolution by design, because accountability isn't a verdict. It's a process. Investigations take time. Courts weigh evidence. Institutions respond or delay. The public's responsibility stays the same. Reject shortcuts, separate rumor from record, and demand clarity without turning it into spectacle. If power thrives in the shadows, what obligation does it owe the light?
Anybody could come on this internet and say anything, right? And dude is getting a whole lot of attention because people are even calling me, asking me about him, you know, and I don't know him from a can of paint. He even mentioned my name, saying that I know. I know what I know. I don't know what he knows. But I do know this, that
It's only 3 people that had contracts with Puff and Bad Boy. Me, Wolf, and Paul Offord. If he didn't come through Paul Offord Security, Green Gate Security, he didn't have a contract with Puff. Because anybody who worked for Puff, other than me and Wolf, came through Green Gate Security. That was Paul's security thing, especially at the time that he was saying that he worked for Puff, or Puff offered him $30,000. Now, anybody knows this, that Bad Boy took 50% of all his artists published, right? 50% of all the artists publishing straight out the rip. Then Puff gave Big $200,000 for the rest of his publishing. So what publishing did he was trying to get and keep from Puff? You understand? What publishing was Puff was trying to get when he already had it? He had already paid for it. What part of the catalog was he talking about? I don't understand that. And then he said that Puff offered him $30,000. I can't say he lied, but I can say that he wasn't a part of Bad Boy Security that I know. I knew everybody who worked during them days. You understand? And I don't know dude from a can of paint.
So whoever this Uncle Ron dude is, he's a liar then. He's a fraud.
Is he a fraud? Bruh, he's what he is. He wasn't part of our security that I knew of. Not at that time.
Every era hits a moment when silence stops functioning as protection and starts functioning as exposure. The film frames this release not as retaliation, but as a signal, the point where withholding becomes more costly than inquiry. A records surface. Institutions are forced to move. The architecture of silence begins to crack. Power rarely collapses loudly. It erodes quietly. And when influence can no longer pause the questions, accountability becomes inevitable. The only question left is whether it arrives early enough to matter.